Hi, how are you doing today? I hope you are doing well. Welcome to the first episode of Mental Health Series with Coach Ebube. And on today's video, we are going to be discussing what mental health is, what are the facts behind mental health, and what is the current statistics in regards to mental health in our today's world as of 2025. And at the end of this video, there will be a U time where you'll be allowed to answer a few questions to foster engagement, retention, and of course, self reflection. My name is Ebube. I'm a teacher, a mental health advocate, and a passionate optimist because I believe that nothing can defeat you without your permission. Let us dive right into the video. Welcome back. I had a story of a young man who got married to his childhood sweetheart, and both of them were so much in love with each other that they decided to get married quite early. When they got married, they started having kids, but that didn't stop them from achieving their goal. They started working hand in hand together, and before you know it, they became so wealthy. Wealth came with a lot of things. It came with the fame, it came with influence, it came with power, and of course, it came with women. The young man at this point started losing interest in his first love, in the first woman, and of course, went ahead to take the second wife. When he married this new woman, he now lost interest in the first one. He no longer visits her. They are very wealthy and they have a lot of flats, a lot of rooms to for all. Okay. The first wife didn't leave him. She was still there, maintained her position, was still working, but though sad, heartbroken, shattered because this is whom he has given her all. But she was still there, she remained. Now, this man, having a new distraction, focused all his attention on her. And as time may have it, he also took in and gave birth to children as much as they wanted. A few years down the line, he also lost interest in her because the belly will always want more. He went for the third one. Now, this third one, he says, is a compensation to his old age because she was actually vibrant, fair, beautiful, everything that an advanced age man will wish for. He calls her his sunshine. And they were just so lovey-dovey together, and he was all over her, she was all over him. But a love at this age always comes with a price because she was there and not for the genuineness of the love, but for the bag. That was what attracted her. Now, as he advanced in age, he became ill, in fact, critically ill, that most of his income was now used to service his medical bills. So he could no longer meet up with the demands of his youngest wife. Guess what? That is when reality began to set in. Because she was not there as a supportive woman, no. She was not there to take care of him in old age, no. She was just there for the happy moment. So she told him, I mean, the third wife now, she told him, oh, see, I can't do this with you. I'm not here to suffer with you. I'm just here because you're okay. So she left. Now, the second one was not really in there for the money like that. She was just there, she was just in the middle, but she can't just take those time of taking care because the man became very more like in a vegetable state. So he was so sick that he couldn't help himself. So he needed assistance. So the second one was like, see, I know I love you, but not to go down this lane with you. So as time goes on, she also could not bear it. Then she left. Now the man was left with the first one, who has remained all this while. She never went anywhere. In fact, to her, they were stuck together. And at this point, he couldn't even talk because apologies at this moment will not just do the work. So he was left with her, and of course he moved back to her. But one thing that happened was that within the time he abandoned her to frolic with other women, he neglected her. He wasn't taking care of her. She fell ill from heartbreak. She fell ill from disappointment. But she was even better off than the man because she only suffered from heartbreak from her first love, her first and only love at that. But the man was disappointed. He was heartbroken. He has physical illness and his guilt of disappointing his first love, and they're still managing. And of course, when you are in the arms of someone that truly and genuinely loves you, your health will be revived. He started getting better, had time to apologize. She forgave him, he forgave himself, and they lived happily ever after. You know, this is actually our story. Human beings are said to be tripartite beings. That means a human being, an individual, consists of the spirit, the soul, and the body. Though some might argue and say no, a human being just consists of the mind, which is combining the spirit and the soul together to form the mind and then the body. But whichever way, the most important thing I want you to understand is that you are not made up of just this flesh. The real person is the one inside, which is the mind. And the both of them, which is the mind and the physical body, works together. Now, the mind is the first wife, which was abandoned. Why? By the third wife is what? The physical body. Most of us, we take time to take care of our physical body. We are on our skincare. What is the newest designer to wear? What is the best jewelry? What cream will I rub on my body to make my body to shine and everything? But we pay little or no attention to our mental health. And at this age and time, we need to be very intentional about our mental health because we are first spirits before we are bodies. In the illustration I gave earlier, they started together. That means the man, which is every individual, started living with the spirit. You can see somebody say, I'm going for a checkup for blood sugar, checkup for blood pressure, checkup for this, kidney, liver. But how many people have taken time to do an accurate assessment on their mental health, to check the state of their mental health? Because at this age and time, it is very important. So now, what is mental health? Mental health refers to the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of a person, which affects how he thinks, feel, and acts, as well as how he handles stress, relates to others, and makes choices. So if you look at this definition, it shows that this is encompassing everything about a human being. The way the person reacts emotionally. Emotionally is in time of excitement, when the person is angry, how the person behaves. Psychologically, how are you thinking? And then in relationship with other people, in relationship with their brothers, their sisters, people around them, even with the environment. Okay, that is mental health. In a simple term, mental health can be said to be how your mind works and how you feel about yourself and the people around you and even the world around you. I said all this to say that mental health is not just the absence of mental illness, it is the state of an individual mind. Whenever people hear this word mental health, they just go ahead to think that mental health is for some certain group of people, because of the way people understand it. Every individual that is prone to any kind of sickness like fever, diarrhea, any form of illness can also be prone to mental illnesses. We are talking about mental health. It's not just the absence of mental illness. It is the state of your mind. It is the state of your being, how you think. For example, are you someone that overreacts in things? That determines your state. So the stability of your mind is what we call what? Mental health. Okay. Mental health is your overall well-being that enables you to function effectively in your daily life, maintain a healthy relationship, and cope with life's up and down. So that is what mental health is. What is the state of your mental health? Just like physical health, mental health can be progressive. It can be poor, it can be okay, and it can be good. And I will tell you this, in our world today, many people's mental health, many people's mental states are just okay. And with any little trigger, it can be poor. That is why there is a need for us to start talking about this. There is a need for us to start creating awareness so that people can go in and start checking themselves, meet a therapist. Back in the days, any little thing, people would tag to be a witch because of behaviors that they can't even explain. And that is their mental health playing out. And some of them were maimed, born to all manner of things were done to them, all because of the same issue. But by we understanding that this could be the person's mind playing a trick on them that makes them to react, remember, emotional, that makes them to react in some certain ways. If you have that knowledge, you can be able to educate another person. At this point, since you've understood that your mental health can be either good, okay, or poor, I think it is safe to ask, how is your mental health? How are you doing today? This is a question that you should intentionally ask because many people are not really doing okay. Now, what are the facts about mental illnesses? One is that mental illness can be treatable. With the right therapy, the right medication, one can be treated. Another fact in regards to mental illness is that mental illnesses can be improved on, meaning that if you go in for the right therapy with the right medication in the right environment, you can improve. There could be mental reprogramming, there could be mental rewiring, whereby you now try to unlearn those things that were affecting you. Let me give you an example. Someone with low self-esteem now have to take up programs that could tell him to understand who they are, now have to expose himself to environment whereby he or she is well appreciated. You find out that this person will stop looking down on themselves, because one thing that makes people to have low self-esteem is when they are being talked down, or maybe from childhood they have been told that you cannot amount to anything, so the person looks low of himself. If you remember, mental health is what how the person feels about yourself. Because if you feel low about yourself, there's no how you can think highly of your environment. So it can be improved on by mental reprogramming, whereby you now start listening to things that makes you feel good, things that tells you more of who you are, things that helps you to understand yourself better, things that helps you to understand your purpose better. You find out that you start behaving well. The way you accept yourself will change. Another fact about mental illness is that mental illness are not necessarily genetical. They are not necessarily genetical means that it can be genetical and it can also be what? Environmental. Genetical means, back in the days, I don't know if they still do it now anyway. Back in the days, when someone goes out to get married, they will always say, check in that family if there's anyone with mental illness. Meaning that there could be a gene in that person's blood that poses the person to have a higher risk of being mentally affected, or having genes that could be easily triggered by happenings within the environment. That is means it is genetical. So it is all assumed, just like physical health, high blood pressure, diabetes, even cancer. It is believed scientifically that there is a higher chance of that kind of illness reoccurring again in that individual. Now, the environment you expose yourself to. For example, if you live in an environment whereby everybody around you smokes, there is a tendency that the person can start smoking and from there be affected mentally. If, for example, in the environment, like I said, someone with low self-esteem finds himself in an environment where he's always being talked down on, automatically the person will start feeling low of himself. So mental illness can be either genetical or environmental. So it is not necessarily what genetical. Now, the next fact about mental illness is that mental illness cannot be transmitted. That is why we are encouraged to show love to people that are challenged. We live in a generation right now whereby everything is content. Everybody wants to, make money online, and we are all doing videos. It is not transmitted, and it won't take nothing away from you to help somebody. And that is why we are on this journey. This is a series whereby we will get educated. You will now know firsthand what to do to someone that is mentally challenged. When you see someone have an outburst, mostly in children, do not disassociate yourself with someone that you see that is low. Do not try to make mockery of someone's pain, because honestly, you don't know what people are passing through. So I just said all this just to say that it is not transmitted. You cannot get the illness by touching the other person. You cannot get the illness. I said all this to encourage us to show more love. Also, mental illness can influence and be influenced by physical health. It can influence physical health in the sense that when somebody is mentally unstable, the person can start consuming what affects the physical health. For example, when you see some people addicted to unedible substances, just picture that in your mind, whereby you've heard people say that they are addicted to weird things. It can affect their physical health in the long run. And again, when somebody's mentally challenged, obviously the person won't dress well. And that is one of the signs to recognize when somebody is suffering from mental health. Someone that used to be all put together, well dressed, all of a sudden the person doesn't know how to dress. It is affecting you physically. It can also be influenced by physical health. Extreme pain from arthritis, pain from cancer, pain from dialysis from kidney can affect people mentally. That is why when somebody convalesces from traumatizing illnesses like cancer, there is a need for therapy. There is this feeling of being at the point of and recovering. I had a story of a man that was incarcerated for years for a crime he didn't commit. But later, with an intervention of a lawyer, he was set free. The man was on a row for years. At the end of that journey, the man came out, lived, but later suffered from mental retardation. Do you know why? This is someone that has seen his inmates that he used to live with sit on the electric chair. So he was just like waiting for the day it would be his turn. Then a savior came for him and he was released. So he couldn't deal with that. He suffered. He didn't die from the shock of the electric chair, but he from mental illness. So that explains that mental illness can either influence the physical health or be influenced by the physical health. Now, another fact about mental health is that it does not discriminate. It does not discriminate size, it does not discriminate age, gender, location, social status. It does not discriminate. It can affect anybody and at any time. That is why we all have to be aware. There is a need for every individual to constantly check themselves to know what is their state at every given time. Another fact about mental illness that it can be prevented. Yes, you can prevent it. You can prevent it by watching what you consume. Now, when I talk about consumption, what you consume, I don't mean what you eat. I mean the kind of material you consume. What are you always looking at? What are you listening to? Consumption also means the kind of substance you take in. What kind of substance are you taking into your body? I want to tell us that we have different mental strengths. What Mr. A can take and still be sane, Mr. B might take it and collapse. So you should understand your mental capabilities to know what you should take in so you can prevent it. Mental illness cannot be healed with time except if practical and intentional steps are taken to actualize the healing. You cannot say, okay, let me just wait around and after I'll be fine. No, it doesn't happen that way. It can be healed, yes, with time, but with practical steps, right medication, therapy. If there is a need for you to leave that environment, you should leave that environment. This list is inexhaustible. Mental health can worsen and degenerate over time. That means if someone is good today, tomorrow the person can be okay, which, as I said, most people are just okay. Hey, most people are just okay. With just a little spike, many things will be lost too. Tomorrow, if that little spike happens, you find out that the person that was okay yesterday has now become what? Poor. So that is a need for us to be in check. Be in check of what you watch, be in check of what you do, be in check of many things. There is a need for that. Now, let's now look at the statistics of mental illness in our world today. What is the ratio of people living with mental illness and people living without mental illness? Worldwide, over 1 billion people, or about 1 in 8 adults, are living with mental health disorder, according to the World Health Organization in September 2025. One in seven adolescents globally experiences a mental disorder. Now, let us pause a little bit and think about this. For adolescents, that means children between the ages of 10 to 19 are one out of seven. That means it's even more in younger minds than in matured minds. Is that striking a chord to you that there is a need for everybody as a parent, as a guardian, to be aware of this so you can be able to spot out the signs when you start seeing it in your children, when you start seeing it in your nieces, when you start seeing it in the little ones around you. Let's continue. One in six people experience a mental health condition in 2019, with numbers that have likely worsened since 2019. Most escalations are backdated towards 2019, that is COVID-19. After then, that was when we had inflation in prices of food, things became scarce, things became hard. That period affected so many things. And even statistics have shown that many people suffered mental illness, mostly anxiety, depression, mental disorder in 2020 because of the COVID. Adults in most deprived areas have a higher rate of mental health problems compared to those in least deprived areas. That means people living in slum, people that are less privileged, they have a higher rate of mental health problems than those that are privileged. The US depression rate for adults under 30 have doubled since 2017, rising from 13.0 in 2017 to 26.7 in 2025. Financial stress, low self-esteem, and sleep deprivation are significant triggers for mental health issues in women. Men are also at the risk, with rates of suicide being 4 times higher than for women. 50% of all chronic mental illness begin by age 14. 30% of all mental illness begin by age 24. What does that say to us? There is a need for everybody to be aware. That is why our aim is to advance community mental health literacy through the reduction of stigma, promotion of help-seeking behavior, and enhancement of understanding and support system, thereby fostering an inclusive and resilient society capable of sustaining long-term mental well-being. I know this is a lot, but what we're trying to do is help people understand mental health better. Help people to understand that they are not worse off all because they have a little bit of trigger here and there. To encourage help-seeking behaviors, to reduce stigma, to encourage people to seek help, go out for therapy, improve the understanding of mental health conditions. As I said, there are places whereby I've seen where children are being beaten, even some have been left to or because of they manifested some kind of threats that have not been seen in their environment, and they were thought to be witches. Some of them were starved to, some of them were flogged. Talk, they were said, oh, they demon possessed and all this. But these are what little signs of mental health challenges. This is to enhance support network, to promote more inclusive society, because we said mental illness, they are not transmitted from one person to other. That means all of us can get involved. All of us can form a community to be able to help. If I'm educated, I can be able to educate the next person, and to continue to change going. That is a need to provide lasting solution to mental health challenges. So all these are our reason for embarking on this journey. Having said all of this, we've come to the end of this episode. And by next episode, we are going to be looking at the core components of mental health. But before we go, now it is your you time, a time whereby you answer a few questions. So here are the questions. Take your time to respond to those questions in the comment section, and I will be glad to see them. But if you don't feel free to respond to either of them in the comment section, There will also be a Google form link whereby you can click and answer, because I want this community to be an inclusive community whereby we'll get to reach out and help others. Okay, feel free to respond to the questions, the ones you can respond in the comment section, and do share our video so that we can reach out to more people and render the help we can. Thank you so much for staying to the end of this episode. Do well to like, share, and also subscribe, because we have many more coming your way. Until I see you in my next one, bye.